Knitting backwards is a super cool technique where you don't have to purl. You basically do the purl row on the knit side. Hi, welcome to Sharing Knits. I love knitting and I want you to love it too. Today I'm going to show you how to knit backwards, English style, so you can avoid purling. Let's get started. I'm going to show you a super cool technique how to knit backwards. You might be wondering, why would I need to do that? Why would I need to knit backwards? Well, I have found in my decades of teaching Learn to Knit that most people really enjoy the knit stitch, but there's a lot of people who don't love the purl stitch. And so if you're working on a project that's a flat piece and it's just a sea of stockinette stitch and you don't love to do the purl stitch, this is a great trick for you because you can create the purl stitch by knitting backwards. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Today we're going to look at how to knit backwards when you're knitting English style, which means controlling the yarn with your right hand. So I have a swatch here where I've worked a few stitches across. I'm going to continue knitting across. And remember, it's English style or throwing, sometimes people call it. And then when I finish that knit row and I want to work back across, instead of turning it and purling back, I'm going to continue looking at the knit side of the fabric, the stockinette stitch, and we're going to take the tip of the left needle and insert it through that next stitch from front to back, and it's through the back stitch. So it's going to go like that. So it's going to go front to back through the left leg or the back stitch because it's over the back of the needle. So front to back, and you're basically just going right in between the two legs of the stitch to the back. And when you look at this side, it actually, you can see you're set up to do a purl stitch if you were working on this side. And then for just a minute, I take both needles in my left hand. I'm holding them in my left hand, and with my right hand, I'm going to wrap the yarn from back to front over the needle and over the needle that was inserted into the stitch. Now, in order to smoothly pull that stitch through, or the yarn through the stitch, I like to use my index finger of my left hand and just hold that yarn down a little bit, because then I can take this left needle and pull it through the stitch, pull the right needle out of the stitch from below, and I have purled that stitch or knit backwards. So let's do that again. I'm going to go through the center of that stitch, wrap around clockwise, it is, and then using my finger, I like to use my pointer finger, some people may use their middle finger, whatever works for you. You're going to need to practice this, and just take this needle, pull it through the stitch, and then you release the right needle. Okay, I'm going to do it again a couple times slow. So like that, wrap the yarn, and you're pulling this needle through. Also, I feel like it's a motion of lifting this needle up and over. So it's kind of a combination of the two. Back, off, and back through. It's actually super fun once you get the hang of it. And like I said, if you're someone who does not enjoy purling, this might be the ticket for you. Another time I like to use knitting backwards is when I do entrelac, and I'll show you an example of that in a minute. But when you do entrelac, you're basically knitting a bunch of little tiny squares, and it just saves you a lot of turning if you know how to knit backwards. All right, so I've gone all the way across, and now I'm ready just to do my regular little knit stitch. And that is how you knit backwards in English style knitting, when you control the yarn with your right hand. And let me just grab this entrelac. Look at this beautiful yarn I have, and I'm designing something. So if you haven't done entrelac before you give it a try, I definitely would play around with this knitting backwards, because it makes this technique so much easier, because you can see you have a lot of little tiny squares that you're working on, and then you don't have to constantly flip from one side to the other. You just stay on the right side of the fabric. This is actually why I learned to knit backwards in the first place. So give it a try, let me know what you think, and remember, you can do this. You are the boss of your knitting. I hope that was helpful and you're able to give this technique a try and maybe use it on your next project. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, and yeah, definitely leave me a comment. And I just wanted to give a shout out to my favorite yarn store here in Portland, Twisted. If you need new yarn for a project, needles, supplies, click the link below and check out what they have. See you next time.